Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another MandoLessons Live. My name is Baron Collins Hill. Still working on the coffee this morning, but I hope you're all doing well. I'll wake up as the hour goes by and I get a couple more tunes through my fingers. But, welcome. Great to see you all again. Yeah, it's been a little while since I got to do one of these. It's been a busy couple weekends, and anyone in the Pacific Northwest, I hope you made it through last weekend as comfortably as possible. For anyone who doesn't know, Portland had the second highest temperature in the United States over the weekend, second only to Death Valley, and it hit a charming 115 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm very fortunate to have some amount of AC in the house, so was able to stay cool and just lay on the floor all day. But anyone who's around, I know we got a bunch of West Coast and Pacific Northwesterners. Hope you stayed cool. But now I'm back. Great to see you all here. Who do we have? We got Belfast, Michigan, San Francisco, British Columbia, beautiful Pacific Northwest. Yes, it is beautiful now. It's been a beautiful couple days after last weekend, Bob. I hope you stayed cool. Belfast, Geroid, good to have you here again. Kenneth from California, Lewis in Indiana, Ant-Man, Eastern Time. Ellensburg, Washington, welcome. Good to have you here. Hey Betsy, good to see ya. Yeah, I'm glad I'm getting to do these again. It was just a couple busy weekends. Dance Tune, Riverside, California. Good to have ya. Oh, James says he missed episode 100 as a power cut struck 1 minute before you went live. That's part of the reason I didn't do a live stream last weekend. I had a gig, but also there was talk of rolling power outages, so I didn't want to have a live stream and have the power go out, just because everyone was running their AC and using a lot of power. So figured play it safe. All right, yeah, Edward, good to have you back. James, as always, has a good eye. New electric tenor, not so this guy here, I've had that for a little while. Maybe it hasn't been in the same spot, but that is a Eastwood. They call it a tenor baritone, which I don't really love that name, but it's essentially a plectrum guitar. I've got it tuned like a 4-string mandocello, CGDA. Maybe I'll pull that out at some point. Denise, Doctor Who and Drinks Trolley, Ontario, Canada. Great to see everyone. Happy 4th of July, indeed. All right, Sukhmeet, good to have you back. Says, I need some tips for getting calluses for my pinky and play double bended notes using my ring finger and pinky. Oh, double beamed notes. For example, B, C, B, the C is short and played with the pinky and the B being the ring finger. Yeah, in terms of getting calluses on your fingers, I think the best thing to do is you gotta use them a lot. A great exercise to get your pinky moving and get it down on those sharp strings is jazzmando.com, the FFCP 4-finger closed position scales. Makes you use your pinky a lot, but even just that, that move you're talking about. If you do that, just like 30 or 60 seconds, every time you pick up the instrument, just pick it up and go. Just go back and forth, do that for a couple weeks, just 30 seconds. Every time you pick up the instrument, you'll start to build up that callus, you'll build up that pinky strength, and you'll be in good shape. Awesome. David's fallen in love with the mandolin, banjo music, etc. Awesome. You're among good friends here, because I think we're all in that camp. And thanks for joining us. Anything planned for the 4th? I don't think I do, no. When is that? Oh, it's tomorrow. Nope, I guess not. Nope, just hanging out. Maybe play some tunes or something. That's my general way of celebrating anything, is play a couple tunes. Oh man, wildfires in Canada. Halifax, Nova Scotia. David, good to have you here. Any classical guitar? I don't play any classical guitar. I don't have one. I don't know anything about it. Maybe anyone in the chat, if you know a good classical guitar resource, throw it in the chat for Sook Meat. Maybe the best tip is play a lot. Yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing. My overarching practice tip and sort of pep talk to myself is you can't get worse if you keep trying. So yeah, the way these work, kind of skipped the little preamble here, but the way these work is I'm here for you. Any questions you might have, throw them in the chat. I love that when I can't keep up with the chat, because it means you're all having a good time and chatting with each other and throwing questions at me. I'll do my best to answer anything that comes my way. I'm happy to take requests for tunes if they're in the public domain, not copyrighted, and I know how they go. So by all means, throw them out there. The worst I can do is say I don't know it. And we'll have a good time this hour. Thank you all for the support. Support comes through in a bunch of different ways on these live chats. There's the super chat. There's links in the description to PayPal and Patreon. And on Patreon, I just wanted to give a heads up that anyone on Patreon, there's a bunch of patrons here. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, we've got our live patron-only live stream, which is just like this. Just a smaller group of folks, and I get to dive in a little deeper. If you're interested, you can sign up at patreon.com/MandoLessons. And anyone in the $5 or more a month tiers gets access to those live streams. So that's coming up tomorrow. See all you patrons there. But for now, let's just ask a bunch of questions. No question's too advanced. No question is too simple. It's all fair game. So keep the chat running. I'll do my best to keep up, and we'll have a good time. James says, Irish music question. I notice a lot of tunes with humors in the name. Does that indicate something about the tune itself, or just a cool name? That's interesting. I can't remember exactly. Humors is, and maybe an Irish fellow here can back me up or fill me in on this. Humors is I don't think it's a tune type in the same way that like jig or reel, or there's like planksty, which is a tune written in honor of someone. So you see all the like Planksty Irwin, Planksty Hewitt, Planksty, etc., etc. But with humor, I think humors is just like, it's kind of a life force. It's sort of like it's like a sort of life force spirit. Like your humors is so I think maybe in terms of like humors of a place, it's maybe just like the spirit of the place. But by all means, if anyone actually knows the answer to that question, throw it out there. But it's not, yeah, it's just a cool name. I don't think it has any relation to like the actual construction of the tune. Excellent. Jim says I've got a long list of things to do for 30 seconds whenever I pick up the mandolin. Yeah, Jim, you've been here a long time, so, and if you're taking, every time I say that, if you're writing it down, that is quite a list, because I've been saying do such and such for 30 seconds for like 10 years. For my best, humors, my favorite humors tune is, I don't think it's on the website. It's Humors of, is it Lachine? No, Lachine, Humors of Glyn. A great Irish jig in the key of D, but starting on a nice little 4-chord G chord. Sorry, I might have skipped something there. Maybe a little Humors of Glyn. I don't know where I learned that tune, some album. It's on my band Velocipede, my duo with Julia Plum, great fiddle player, back in Maine, on our album Hunt the Squirrel. You can find the links to that in the description if you go to MandoLessons.com. And then there's like a store page or something. You go to the bottom, it's got some Velocipede links, and you can listen to those albums on Bandcamp or download the digital albums or go to velocipedemusic.com and buy some physical copies, old school style. Those old, what do you call them, CDs. All right, let's see. So great question about humors. Would love to hear Blackberry Blossom or Brilliancy. I can definitely do that. Sweeney's Buttermilk or The Corsair. Wow. I know I've played both of those tunes, but I don't know either one off the top of my head. Sweeney's Buttermilk especially really rings a bell. Williams says the Ellis sounded good. Yeah, so if anyone saw my last lesson, I got this thing set up. Fret level, a couple new frets in it, because I wish I could show you. I thought about adding this little picture, but I got one of the old frets, and it's just a wreck. I don't think you're ever going to be able to see. It's so tiny. But, let's see. Yeah, it's going to be too small, but maybe just in the right light you can see some of the wear on that fret. It's really, really kind of worn out. But it's been 10 years. You know, these are kind of long-wearing frets anywhere. They're a little harder. They're called Gold EVO or Gold Evo frets. So it just kind of was time, and it feels amazing to kind of get it set back up. It was after, you know, I think part of the COVID curse was that I wasn't playing out, so a lot of my instruments really slipped out of top form. But it's now as things are starting to open back up, time to dial things back in. So I'm glad it's coming through on the mics. Take It All Back by Judah and the Lion. That sounds like maybe a contemporary tune. I mostly just do traditional fiddle music, so I think that's outside of my wheelhouse. But if you have any requests for any tune that I either can't do or don't know, anything like that, you can always ask over on mandolincafe.com in the forums and say, hey, does anyone know how to do this? And people can probably help you out. Micah from Oregon, good to have you here, a fellow Oregonian. Please show some basic transitions from scales to double stops and back. I'm having difficulty with this. Great question. I just want to make sure. So there's a Blackberry Blossom, scales to double stops. And then Kenneth also said, Blackberry Blossom, do you know melody alternatives, octave, melody variant, etc.? Charlie says, just got a KM 505. Great mandolins. All right, I got to answer some of these questions before they get out of my head. So scales to double stops and back. Let's see. Maybe, let's see. One tricky aspect of kind of going from scales to double stops is you really, like, with double stops, if you're kind of trying to double stop scales, it kind of requires moving. You really got to know those double stops and have them committed to muscle memory. You know, you can see both of my fingers are moving around as I kind of move up those scales. But, you know, in terms of just playing like maybe a melody, and then something with a little more kind of double stopped drone style, I would say, you know, check out the double stop series. I think the biggest thing to get used to is probably in your right hand. We spend so much time focusing on like only playing one set of strings at a time, that to play two sets of strings feels like you're kind of doing something you're not supposed to. Because at first, you know, we accidentally hit two sets of strings. We're like, oh no, I'm not supposed to do that. And now we have to break that habit to actually get our right hand to widen out and play a couple sets of strings at one time. So yeah, a little bit on Blackberry Blossom. So I'll play it and then talk a little bit about some double stops that I get into and ornaments, things like that. Oh, and there was also a question from Jim. Why do mandolin players do that rhythmic thing when they start playing? Is that what I was just doing there? If that's what you're talking about, that's called, I know it as four potatoes. And as far as I'm concerned, it kind of comes from, I think, a couple different directions. It can, I do that because I grew up playing for contra dances, where that's sort of like just a signal of like, gets the band together, gets the dancers ready to know that they're about to start. So it'd be like, or one, bum, 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 and then everybody starts to move. The band all knows where to come in, rather than going, hey, let's play Blackberry Blossom. If you just go right into the melody, there's no time for people to all get together. The dancers kind of get caught off guard. So it's just a little moment. It establishes the rhythm, the speed. And really lets everybody get together. I don't know if that's exactly your question, but if not, please expound upon the question and I'll answer it once I'm done talking about Blackberry Blossom. So I'll play it a little bit as requested, and then I'll talk a little bit about some ornaments you can add. So there's a couple ideas. The thing with Blackberry Blossom is it's a super notey tune, and it's often hard to add things in to a really notey tune because there's no space to fill. You know, it's just straight eighth notes. But you can't add anything to that. So often, my way of kind of altering the melody and kind of adding things to it is actually just to take away notes. So you can go. You need to add space in order to actually kind of alter it. Unless you're going to straight up, it's either that or like alter the melody. But I find that a little less interesting to, you know, go. Like kind of changing the melody but staying in all eighth notes. You know, it's such a great melody. It kind of leads itself along that, you know, my preference is to... You can even, you know, also the chords are moving so quick. G and D and a C and a G and a C and a G and an A and a D. that you can also just like kind of play those chords or little double stops of them. G, D, C, G, C, G, A, D, as little kind of rhythmic punches, and that sounds great. So taking stuff out of the tune, you can also play it down the octave. You're gonna have to fudge the bottom. You gotta kind of throw in a different note here and there because you run out of notes on the low G string. But that's another idea. Great tune though, and thank you for the suggestion and the questions. We got triplets. Triplets are always fun. Cool. William also has a 505. Great mandolins. Awesome. Denise also has a 505. Yeah, that's right. I've played that mandolin. It's a great one. Strings changed. Yeah. Strings are always... any recommendations on strings? My go-to is just the D'Addario J74s. It's the medium set. It's kind of the standard set of strings as far as I'm concerned. It's, you know, medium tension and phosphor bronze. There's also like the GHS sets. I'm not really particularly brand specific. I just go for medium phosphor bronze. I don't go for any of the coated stuff, just as my own preference. It's a lot cheaper just to get the standard strings. They're usually, you know, any under $10 for a set of strings at any local music store. And if you got a lot of mandolins and you buy them in bulk online, strings in bulk online, not mandolins, you can get them. They're sometimes like $5 a set for. But it's also nice to just get some strings from a local store to keep them in business. So when you do need to go, they'll be there. Because if everybody buys everything online all the time, then it's going to be hard for the music stores to be there when you need them. All right. David from Chile, good to have you here. Thank you for joining us. To some, the CDs are newfangled. Yeah, I agreed. The technology changes so quick. Thomas sticks, or flat wound strings. Those are great. I used to play with, not Thomas sticks, but, or Tomastics. I don't know how to say it. But great strings. Very warm and kind of soft sounding compared to the bright, zingy phosphor browns. Cool. Doctor Who and the Drinks Trolley. I love Doctor Who, by the way. Glad you found the channel. Really enjoying the Irish tunes. Excellent. Yeah. Thanks for joining, and glad you're enjoying the site. Nice. Lewis got some time with some Tomastics on an Eastman the other day. Yeah, I've used flat wounds for a long time, and I like them. They're very different from phosphor brand. It sounds a little more like a kind of gross oversimplification would be the difference between and a little softer, kind of takes the edge off. Things like that. They do last forever too, which is nice. They're kind of expensive, unfortunately. They're like, what, 25, 30, 35 bucks a set, somewhere in there. But they do last a long time. All right, let's see. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Thank you all for keeping the chat. Noah Fishman has a new album out. Is that the Palaver string quartet that he put together? Or not quartet, but little thing. I can't remember. I'll have to look into that. I know he's been doing a bunch of work. I can't keep track with all of his projects. Got to get him back on the channel. Always good to have Noah on here. All right, I got some great string talk. Yeah, definitely retraining your hand. You know, I think a lot of that kind of quick moving double stop, this is from Micah about double stops again. That sort of ability to have those double stops at any given time really comes from kind of the arpeggio stuff. And sort of combining those. Where are all your G double stops from the arpeggios? Things like that. It's a lot of what I'm going over right now in my improvisation series. It's a little more, you know, I've never been great at sort of that studying music theory and thinking about all that stuff. Usually I just want to play tunes, but pretty much the way I approach it is anytime I feel vaguely interested and really working on, you know, a particular scale or double stops or more like the kind of the technical foundation, I always, if I feel like, oh, I could spend a little time on that, I always make sure to jump on it, because most of the time I'm just like, oh, I just want to play tunes. And it really depends on your own practice habits. I have friends who will happily just like sit in their room for an hour and play one scale and just be like, oh, this is great. I'm more of like a kind of social musician. I sometimes don't even want to play music if it's just on my own. But, you know, whatever I say always just kind of follow where your interests go, whatever you're excited about, and anything you can do to spend more time on the instrument is great. Ooh, oh yeah, Eastman 815 Mandola. I haven't actually played one of those, but I've played their octave mandolin. And do they have a 315 Mandola now? I can't remember, but Eastman does great stuff. Hey, Ursanas, missed the first half due to get the second jab. Congratulations. Better, more social times are coming your way. Congratulations for sure. And you can always watch these back later on. But I would say getting that second jab is the real win of the day, and you can always, I do these most weekends, so you can only get a jab every so often. Lewis says $50 a set on the Tomastics. Wow, those have gotten more expensive since last time I used them. If you're trying to stay quieter, that's a good question. They might be slightly quieter. They're certainly less trebly, or like they're a little less bright. Other things, that's a good question. I'll think about that. Wish there was an app for MandoLessons. I thought about it for a long time, and I was kind of getting close to doing it, but ultimately, it wouldn't have a whole lot of functionality over what the website itself has. That said, if you have like particular things that you would like to see, shoot me an email, MandoLessons@MandoLessons.com. And if you have thoughts about like what you'd like to see in an app, I don't think I'll be making an app anytime soon because they're expensive and they take a lot of time and require a lot of updating. But if there's functionality that I could put just into the website, I'm happy to do it, or sort of like app-like functionality, because the website's pretty good on mobile devices. And there's not a whole lot at this point that warrants an app of itself, but always happy to have that conversation. All right, Adam says, been playing mandolin since I discovered these videos in January of 2021. Awesome. Thanks for joining. Glad you're on the mandolin train. When I'm Her soundtrack, music by I gotta check that out. I don't think I've been talking to Noah fairly regularly, and I know he's got a ton of different projects going on, so I gotta check that one out. Any good sources that teach copyrighted material similar to what you do with public domain songs? I think it kind of depends on what kind of music you're into. Mandolin specific, not so, I don't know a whole lot, just because copyright is a tricky thing. That's a good question. If anyone in the chat has good recommendations, I know there's like the uke teacher, what's his name? Can't remember, English guy, redhead on YouTube, but does a lot of ukulele tutorials of pop songs. But if you know, if he's saying like play a G, and you don't need to look at his fingers and say like, okay, I'm playing a G. If you just know, okay, here's a G. If you know where to find all your chords, you can either just look them up on the internet or find guitar tutorials or ukulele tutorials, all that sort of stuff. But if anyone has any specific recommendations, definitely throw them in the chat. Yeah, so Ursula says the F phone still has the strings it came with. I definitely recommend, even if you just get a mandolin, the strings that come on it are probably a lot older than you think because they got put on wherever the mandolin was built, and then it got shipped, and then it sat on a music store wall or in a warehouse for a long time. So even if you just get a mandolin, the strings could be a couple of years old, depending on how long it sat around before you got it. And they're usually just using kind of the cheapest standard strings you can get, which is not a bad thing necessarily. Like I use cheap strings, but the less expensive strings also wear out a little quicker. So if you want to, even if you just put on a new set of J74s, $8, and it'll really improve the sound of your instrument just because they're new and haven't been sitting in a box for a long time. Yeah, changing strings themselves is kind of a hassle. You can always get a music store to do it. If a store has, it's usually like they'll do it for like $10 or something. It's good skill to learn to be able to change strings yourself. But if it's your first time and you want to get a fancy set of strings on, maybe just spring for getting a store to do it for you. That way, if they break any, it's on them. Yeah, classical music flatwounds are great for the classical stuff and jazz. Is there a shop in Portland that you know of where I could try a variety of higher-end mandolins? I didn't think to ask at Strum when I was there last. Strum has a couple. They've got some local builder mandolins. I don't know. There's not a huge... I would say if you ever go up to Seattle, go to like Dusty Strings. I don't know of anywhere in Portland that's got a big collection of mandolins. Most places in Portland are what am I trying to say? Guitar oriented. But Dusty Strings in Seattle. There's another one up in Seattle too that I can't quite remember. Usually have a good stock of mandolins. But yeah, the mandolin scene. Maybe somebody should start a mandolin store in Portland. That would be fun. Oh, Artichoke Music. Go to Artichoke Music. It's in Southeast on, I can't remember what street, but they've got a bunch of cool mandolins in there. Go check those out. Shoot me an email and I can remind you of any of this stuff. See, try some different brands to find out what I might want to go for someday. Yeah, if you really want to try a wide swath, I would say maybe if you ever go up to Seattle, that's going to have the biggest change. Or I don't know how much you travel. I mean, probably not much these days, but if you're ever in like Nashville or Boston or New York, there's stores kind of on I know the East Coast mostly just because I just moved out here, but maybe other people know the West Coast better. Throw them in the chat if you have West Coast music suggestions. No specific advice on copyright tutorials, but I have been working on Chan Chan from a guitar tutorial. I don't know that one. Oh, extra fun, it's in Spanish. Excellent. Says he's restrung guitars before, but with floating bridges on the mandolin. Makes me nervous. Yeah, somebody said change them one at a time. I actually usually do two at a time. I take the G strings off, put two new G strings on, trim them down, take the D strings off, put D strings on. So that way the bridge can't move. If you take them all off at once, then you got to reset the bridge. So I always do two at a time. Yeah, okay, Betsy's got the same tip there. I think I'm caught up with the chat here. For now, got to keep those questions coming in. I'll play a tune. Somebody was asking about Brilliancy earlier. I'll do a little bit of that. Oh, yeah. Buena Vista Social Club. It's a great album. Brilliancy. Let's throw out a recommendation for cider. Absolutely. Oh, I see. Wait. Are you talking about, like, apple cider or, like, hard cider recommendations that you have? Or are you recommending that I play the tune cider? Or... I think if it's a recommendation to make a lesson, I think I have made a lesson. I don't know what you're talking about, James, but whatever it is, throw it out there. It's all good here. Haven't done this in a while. It's a hard tune. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, what is that? Let's try that again. Been too long. It's all out of my fingers. How was it? Yeah. What is it? Oh, that was a little rough. Sorry about that. That tune's hard. Okay, so it is a request for cider. Yeah, that's a tune I can actually play. Well, that's not cider though. How does cider go? I thought I could play it. Cider. So. Also been a little while apparently. I really started getting it mixed up with Pay to Ho. Very similar, but French Canadian tune instead. Let me see. Bowlback probably allows for more sustained sound, which helps the tremolo feel more consistent. Oh, is this a little talk about classical mandolin, maybe? Yeah, bowlbacks are definitely a good way to go on those. Cool. Thanks for tuning in, Charlie. Hope to see you again. Have a great weekend. Yeah, I'm happy to. Ursula says, reassuring to see you fumble. If someone experiences fumbles, my newbie self can't be blamed. Yeah, oh yeah, I can fumble with the best of them. Yeah, I mean, I think, and I totally know what you mean. I've seen a lot of my heroes on stage, totally like forget tunes and mess up tunes and stuff, and it's very reassuring. Just like everybody does it. You can't really avoid it. So just gotta embrace it. Yeah, I'm happy to fumble, and I think learning to embrace the fact that you're gonna mess up is huge because it takes a lot of the stress off. Where I probably wouldn't play. I wouldn't get up and try to play Brilliancy for like a solo concert because clearly I can't remember how to play it. I would have to practice it a bunch first, so I wouldn't just wing it on stage. But this isn't a performance. This is about kind of learning and practicing and teaching and things like that. So I'm happy to mess up for your all's enjoyment. And yeah, just the fact that you're gonna mess up and like getting over that kind of fear of like, oh, what happens if I mess up? Well, if you mess up, and you try again. Or you learn and say, okay, here's where I messed up. Here's what I got to really work on. Like, I got to work on that third part of Brilliancy. Katarina Lichtenberg on YouTube, and also has a great Artist Works classical mandolin course. More Buena Vista Social Club talk. Glad to see it. Yeah, play through mistakes no matter what. Wants to allow. Yeah, keeping the beat is much more important than, if you mess up and you go, oh no, I made a mistake. Why did I do that? I shouldn't have done that. The music has stopped. But if you go, at least you still got a beat. And even though if you're kind of messing up all over the place. And I think it's a combination. You want to learn to be able to play through your mistakes, but you also don't want to get like complacent and be like, oh, I made a mistake. That's no problem. Like, it is no problem, but you also need to be aware of where you're making mistakes, and be able to go back and work on them so that you can eliminate them from your playing. Can you recommend some? Okay, let me see. Any advice on making playing through mistakes easier? I find I stall. Play along with like either my backing tracks or recordings, because they're not gonna stop, and so it forces you. Even if you make a mistake, just be like, okay, I gotta keep going because they're going and they're not gonna wait for me. So playing along with recordings, I think, is the biggest one, or in like a group situation. If you're getting together with other folks, just force you got to play along with other people, whether it's a recording or in real life. That's the only way to kind of have something happen where if you're just playing by yourself and you make a mistake, it's that much easier just to be like, oh, I'm going to stop and try that again. But if you've got some other sound going on that's not going to wait for you, you just got to get used to the mistakes and fumble. Recommendation on songs to practice for a beginner to keep me interested in learning the mandolin. What I would recommend is if you've gone through the beginner series on my website, MandoLessons.com, then just go to the tunes section. That's the bulk of my website, is the fiddle tunes. Also great on mandolin, hence the mandolin lesson. They're just called fiddle tunes because they come from fiddle and violin tradition most of the time. And you can sort them by difficulty and just look through the beginner series. You can click on them, you can hear what they sound like. Give a listen, you say, hey, I'd like to try that one. If it's in the beginner section, you're totally going to be able to get it. And even if it's something that's sounds more complicated than you think you can do, give it a shot. Often, I think the most progress comes when you are really kind of involved in what it is that you're learning. You're not just like, okay, this is what I have to do next, so I'm gonna go through the motions and do what this person is telling me to do. I'll do that. But if you hear a tune and you're like, oh yeah, I love that tune. I love Cider. I love Blackberry Blossom, Fisher's Hornpipe. They might be more complicated tunes than I would like say are beginner tunes, but I've found the most value from really having something in my head that I'm like, I love that tune, and I really want to learn to play it, regardless of how hard it is, and just take it slow, and you can totally get it under your fingers, and you'll learn a lot in the process. So follow your ears, just listen to a bunch of music on my website, or you can go to my Bandcamp page, bandcamp.com, no, MandoLessons.bandcamp.com. Links in the description. And that way, it's just the play along track, so you can go through and say, oh, what does this one sound like? What does this sound like? Things like that. Yep, making a mistake twice is jazz. That's a good mindset to have. Someone coming in, never missing a note. He said, yeah, knowing how to recover. So Chet Atkins says he misses notes and plays wrong notes all the time. He just knows how to recover. That's more than probably half the battle is, being able to hit a wrong note, not flinching about it, and just being like, well, all right, how do I get back on track? Yeah. Lefty says, I fumble on every tune, but I'm still having fun. That's how I feel, too. And I think just like the fumbles, the more you play, and as long as you're kind of aware of where you're fumbling and then able to work on it in other times, your fumbles just become smaller. I feel like I'm in a constant state of fumble and improvisation and like, oh, I'm just going to do this and see what happens whenever I play tunes. And it's just the more you do it, the smaller the fumbles get, and the more it just sounds like the tune. Oh, easier to play tremolo on a bowlback. I see where you're going there. Any good tunes on your site for practicing tremolo? Any of the slow tunes. Like, look up the waltzes, look up the airs. Anything with a lot of space in it. Just fill up that space with tremolo. What is this, Tom Bigby Waltz? Any of the waltzes are going to be great, or if you know the tune like Danny Boy, or the tune name of that song is Londonderry Air. All those are going to be great. Anything with a lot of space, a great way to practice tremolo is just fill in any quarter notes or long notes with a little tremolo. And it's great to intersperse it with, with straight picking as well. So because it's going to teach you how to get in and out of that tremolo, which is a valuable thing to work on as well. Ursula says, I can tell when a note is wrong, but not always if it's sharp or flat or whatever. I'm the same way. I do not have great kind of pitch recognition, but what I can say is the more you work on it, the better you get. A great exercise that I like to use, and I'm not a singer by any stretch of the imagination, is just try to match your voice to the instrument. You might have to do a lot of like sliding around to get in there. Great tremolo at the same time. It'll match your voice to your playing. It'll give you a better sense of kind of what intervals sound like. And you can start to kind of match what you're hearing. Like maybe you go the other direction and say, Da, ya, ha, ha. Ya, da, da. Da, 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 da. Etc. Kind of a good way to play along with yourself. Played a tune in another setting, Little Billy Wilson, I think it was called. Can I play that? One of my favorite old-time tunes of all time. Old-time fiddle players are going to play this in cross A, A, E, A, E, but as mandolin players, we just play it in standard tuning. Billy Wilson, little Billy. There's a little Billy Wilson. Whew. All right. I don't know if that's on my site or not. Good question, Rosemary. I feel like it maybe isn't on my site, but it should be. Yes, kind of says in groups it's all about learning to play soft while you're unfamiliar with the tune. Best to listen. Great advice. Knowing how to recover sounds like a life lesson there. All right, we're getting towards the end of the hour. Our tune of the week is Behind the Haystack, 3-part Irish jig in the key of D. So let's get that together and start playing that. And also put in requests for a tune you want to do next week as our play along track of the week. I'll finish up these last questions and then we'll play a little Behind the Haystack. Hey Rick, good to have you here. Better late than never. That's what I always say. Yeah, just getting the key. I mean, that's the thing is, when you don't know something, just whatever you get is a win. Maybe you get the key. Maybe you get one little phrase out of it. It's all good. Oh, nice. James taking old-time fiddle with Bruce on Peghead Nation. Yeah, singing along is a great way to go. Glad that he feels similarly. Hector the Hero. I don't know how to play that off the top of my head. I have played it in the past. Ooh, Flowers of Edinburgh. Great tune. Let's play a little... okay, I'll look up Flowers of Edinburgh here. I doubt we've actually done that as a play-along. Let's find out. And then we'll play a little bit of Behind the Haystack and call it a day. Let's see. Where's my play-along? Moment here. Flowers. Oh, we did it at episode 31. That was 70 lessons ago. Let's do it again. Why not? 31 is way back there. Years ago now. So let's do Flowers of Edinburgh again. I figure once we get past 100 episodes, we can start repeating stuff. Banish Misfortune, also a great tune. Oh, okay, let's do Banish Misfortune because we haven't done that. Similar kind of vein. I guess not a Scottish tune or multi-genre tune as much, but it's well known. And we haven't done it yet. Let's do Banish Misfortune and then Flowers of Edinburgh soon, because it's a great tune. We haven't done it in a long time. But for now, let's play Behind the Haystack. Key of D. The way this works is we'll just pass it back and forth. I think you all know the drill at this point, but if you don't, pass it back and forth. I'll play the melody, you play the chords. I'll lead you through it, and then we'll swap off. So I'm playing the chords while you play the melody. So 1, 2, I'll start. Oh no, I switched the tune. This is the third part. You go for first part. A2. B part. Third part. I'll take it. You play chords. B. Oh no. Third part. Here we go. B part. Third part. Going out. Ooh, I was getting good and mixed up in that one. So that second part is identical almost to, I've never thought about this, Humors of Glen. Because the B part of Behind the Haystack and Humors of Glen is starts out very similar, so I was getting all sorts of mixed up. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you all for the support. Patrons, I will see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. Hope you all have a great weekend. Brem 1997, any apps for learning mandolin? I would second David's suggestion. Check out MandoLessons.com, the beginner series, and then start jumping right into some tunes. Have a good time, and just enjoy all the good stuff. Thank you all so much for having me. Thank you all so much for coming and joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.